at the BAFTAs while Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo were on stage presenting an award.
Delroy and I are delighted to be presenting the first BAFTA of the night for a vital part of movie making. We're here to celebrate.
Michael B. Jordan and Delroy, y'all should have goddamn went out in that goddamn crowd and reverse Will Smith his ass, huh? Michael B. Jordan and Delroy, y'all should have went out there and reverse Will Smith his ass. Tourette's or not, hell no.
So let me get this straight. Black people are just supposed to deal with being called the N-word on national TV just because somebody is disabled. So we have to just deal with being traumatized just because somebody else has something going on.
Let's play a quick game. If there were two white people on stage and there was a black person that had Tourette's and they yelled out something anti-Semitic, how do you think people would feel about that? There is no reason that the BAFTAs did not edit this out of the 2-hour broadcast when they were able to edit out Free Palestine. They're owed a public apology, not just by the person that did this, but also by the BAFTAs. This was completely irresponsible and just really, really sad. It's very much giving setup because why didn't you edit that out? And these two men are going to have to take this situation on the chin. Everybody's going to talk about how well they handled it, about the class, the professionalism, but they're going to have to do that anyway. Of course they acted the way that they did and reacted like that, because if they reacted any other way, they would get scrutinized for it. We should be able to hold space for the offended party and not make them feel like that they have to give up their humanity and their emotions for this situation. I don't see this blowing over. This is a very tough situation and just sad all around.
I thought I was done talking about this for the night, but this situation has gotten so much worse. Hannah Beachler, who's the production designer on Sinners, who was at the BAFTAs tonight, has confirmed that the incident regarding the slur with John Davidson was not the only occurrence. She posted this thread onto Twitter. I keep trying to write about what happened at the BAFTAs and I can't find the words. The situation is almost impossible, but it happened 3 times that night, and one of the 3 times was directed at myself on the way to dinner after the show. And a 3rd time at a Black woman. I understand and deeply know why this is an impossible situation. I know we must handle this with grace and continue to push through, but what made the situation worse was the throwaway apology of if you were offended at the end of the show. Of course we're offended, but our frequency and our spiritual vibration is tuned to a higher level than what happened. I am not steel. This did not bounce off me, but I exist above it. It can't take away from who I am as an artist. I genuinely hate this for the entire Sinners team. The fact that they were subjected to this on and off camera is just abhorrent, and the BAFTAs need to post a public apology, as well as John Davidson, because you have half of the internet and damn near the whole country of Europe, because you have half the internet and damn near the whole UK calling Black people ableist for not being okay with racism. The fact that this happened multiple times to the Black people of this film is not okay, and I don't want to hear any.
Hey everyone, I'm Nobu and welcome back to the channel. Today we need to talk about something disturbing that happened at the Baptist. During the event, a white man reportedly shouted a racial slur at Michael B. Jordan, and Delroy Lindo was also present during the incident. And what's making people even more upset, there is still no public apology. This isn't just drama, it's about racism, accountability, and how Black people are treated, even in elite spaces. Let's be honest, the Baptist is supposed to be one of the most represented events in the film industry. It's hilarious, it's global, and it celebrates talent. But what happened shows that racism doesn't disappear. Michael B. Jordan is an international represented actor. Delroy Lindo is a veterinary in the industry with degrees of powerful performance. For someone to feel bold enough to shout the N-word in that space tells you something deeper is going on. This is about systemic racism. It's about how anti-Blackness still show up openly and how institutions often move slowly or stay silent when Black people are targeted. The silence is the part of the problem. When there is no immediate apology, no strong condemnation, it sends a message. It tells people that this behavior isn't taken seriously enough. Black Americans are angry, and rightfully so, because this isn't just about one word, it's about history, trauma, and the content disrespect black people face, even at the highest level of success.
Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo being called the N-word while presenting an award. Uncomfortable watch, and you could see it on their faces. So the BAFTA Film Awards happened earlier tonight, and Tourette's campaigner John Davidson shouted that word because of his condition. Now, I'm not condoning that word being used under any circumstance, especially in that setting and knowing it's going to be broadcasted on TV. It's a lot. However, I am seeing people with no real understanding of Tourette's syndrome commenting things like, well, my brother's girlfriend's best friend has it and she doesn't say things like that. I'm also seeing people say things like, oh, he couldn't help it, or what a cop-out. And if the N-word is an initial tick towards a person of colour, then that person's mindset and morals needs to be questioned. And before anyone comments, I don't know this man, but what I will say is that that's not how the condition works. Now, I want to say that my knowledge on Tourette syndrome is pretty basic, but I can imagine and understand that it's a horrific, frustrating condition to have. I also know that it differs from person to person. Some tics are physical, some tics are verbal, and especially with the verbal ones, it can lead in some cases for people to say inappropriate things at the most inappropriate times. I'm not sure how true this is, but it's been alleged that John left the award show right after that comment was made off his own accord. But like I said, I want to re-emphasize, I am not excusing, condoning, enabling people of colour being subjected to that kind of language under any circumstances. But from the comments I've seen, it seems like there is a lack of understanding of what Tourette syndrome is. And like I said, Michael and Delroy held their own in what I imagine was a painful and uncomfortable moment.
Tonight was the BAFTAs, and even though it was not live streamed, it was being broadcast in the UK, where John Davidson, who has Tourette's, who is a Tourette's campaigner, blurted the N-word with the hard ER to Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo while they're presenting the first award of the night. You can hear the gas in the audience. You can see Michael and Delroy try to keep it together. The BAFTAs chose to keep this in the broadcast instead of edit it out. You then had Alan Cummins immediately coming out after trying to diffuse the situation, saying that this is what happens with people with Tourette's. Some things happen. But I'm sorry, racism should not be happening. Some people are going to say, oh, well, disability will make you say things you don't mean. And why are you surprised that this happens in the UK, the OG colonizer? To have these two black men who have lived through so much in this world, especially Delroy, he's in his 70s, to be in an industry event where your project is nominated, where you're presenting, and you hear that from the audience, God only knows what's going through their mind. During freaking Black History Month, I hate this for them. The BAFTAs or Davidson have not put out an apology since this happened. This award season has already been rough for the Sinners camp, especially when it comes to the snubs and people making memes out of them. Now you have this situation. And y'all give the black people a break.
White people could have Alzheimer's, dementia, Tourette's, dementia, and they'll still be able to call you a racial slur. Why is it that Michael B. Jordan just has to take it when this guy randomly just starts saying N-word? Calling him the hard R. He's got to smile and take it. They're saying the guy has Tourette's that called him that. Michael B. Jordan's better than me. I would have just walked off the stage. This is from the Jasmine brand. It says, host Alan Cumming immediately stepped in to address the disruption. Per coverage of the event, Cumming told the audience, John has Tourette's, and some of the things you're hearing are involuntarily. He added, we're very proud to have him here tonight, and thank attendees for their understanding. So let me get this straight. They get on stage, and we have to have an understanding for some white man in the audience who's a grown-ass man calling them the hard N-word. We got to just have an understanding. Why is it that we always have to have the understanding? And why is it that whenever your white people have these disabilities, they still find some way to call black people a racial slur? Now, if it was some Jews on stage, I wonder if we would have all had the same understanding that you're telling black people to have. For some reason, black people just got to take abuse. You got to take it. You got to be understanding of the abuse you're receiving. And you got to, even as a these are two grown men. They just got to take the abuse. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, you can call me the N-word. Okay. He didn't do it when there were white people on stage. He didn't do it when there were a blue-eyed white woman on stage. He does it when there's two grown-ass black men on stage. That is not involuntarily. That is you doing that on purpose. Anyway, like I said, Michael B. Jordan is better than me. I would have just walked off stage. You can't pay me enough to just take that, bro. Michael B. Jordan has millions. Like, he would have been good. Like, we're not doing this, bro. You got to just keep taking it and take it to the chin. Be understanding. It's okay, black men. Accept the abuse. Yeah, we're not doing that no more, bro. Like, this is just disgusting. You can't go to a award show without being called that. You're on stage. And he's involuntarily calling you that. Somehow, you two black people got on stage and he just involuntarily called you that.
I'm not even going to keep you for too long. I just want to ask one thing. What if the vocal tick had been Free Palestine? Explain that to me. If the vocal tick that had taken place at the BAFTAs had been Free Palestine, would that have been edited out? So if that, because we know that it was edited out, Free Palestine, when Akinola Davis Jr., my G, said it during his speech, that was edited out by the BBC because the ceremony took place and wasn't aired until 2 hours later. But then for some reason, the N-word being hurled at Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo, that was left in. A disability is a disability. My thing is, there was a lack of safeguarding from the organisers, from the BBC who were broadcasting it, and from BAFTA as a whole. There is an issue here, and the way that I would say white institutions decide and prioritise what is harm and what isn't. Whether it was intentional or not for the word to be said, it doesn't change the impact that it has on those who it was said to, directed at, and those who had to hear it. Racism, one of the mechanics of it is humiliation. I can't speak for the two men who experienced that, but I would argue that it's humiliating. And then essentially people are doing all of this mental gymnastics to be like, well, nothing we can do. These things just happen. They're involuntary. Whilst I understand that, that does not diminish the impact of who, those who are experiencing it. And this is just a microcosm of what Black people generally face in society anyway. And I would like for the American Black History Month that we're currently in, some of you need to stop explaining to Black people how they get to feel about things that are only directed towards them in that moment. So I ask again, explain it to me like I'm 5. If the vocal tick had been Free Palestine, what would the BBC, what would BAFTA have done then? All right.
Some people aren't going to like this take. I could really care less. A disability is not an excuse for racism. That clip of Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo getting called the hard R by a man with Tourette's as they're presenting an award is mind-boggling to me. Mind-boggling, number one, because they were able to keep their composure so well. I don't think most people would have been able to do that in that situation. And number two, because of the conversation people are having right now. Because before people even had a chance to digest what happened, I've seen people run to this guy's defense saying, oh, that's just how the condition is. They can control what they say. They're not trying to offend anyone. And that could be true. And what's also true is that the entire internet just saw these two Black men who were just trying to do their job and present an award get called a slur in front of an entire audience. I find it very funny that in all of the statements surrounding this situation, all of the understanding that people are seeking from, they're all saying, oh, we're so glad that the audience has understanding. We're so glad that the audience was able to, deal with this. And not the two people that were actually called slurs. Why am I not seeing any public apologies? Because these Black men were publicly disrespected, yet I'm seeing a bunch of people, the Sun included, going on to say, oh, well, it's not something that you can control and it's not supposed to be anything offensive, so people shouldn't take offense to it. Well, when I accidentally step on someone's shoe and, I didn't mean to actually step on their shoe, I didn't mean to disrespect them or harm them in any way, I still think, I should apologize because I still inconvenienced them. I still hurt them. I still, maybe could have disrespected them. And we just saw these two Black men get called a slur in front of the entire internet has now seen this. Yet I'm seeing people say, oh, well, what reason does he have to apologize? He shouldn't have to apologize. And if this is something that his family is very aware of, that they knew is uncontrollable and could happen, he shouldn't have been there. I'm sorry to say that, but the hurt that he gets from not being able to see his son win an award in person does not outweigh the hurt that he causes by calling these two Black men the hard R in public. Like, what are we talking about?
Tourette's or not, stop telling Black people not to care. Stop saying, oh, he has Tourette's, you should understand. That is how I know that, truthfully, people do not understand the weight that comes along with that word. Then especially to be on one of the biggest stages of your career that you literally have worked so hard for to even be in these kind of spaces, and then to be reminded of the one thing in this world that has been ingrained in making our journey to those spaces that much harder, and you are on the stage and you hear that word intentionally or unintentionally, It does not take away the weight behind the word. It doesn't take away the disappointment of having to, there's your reminder. Michael B. Jordan and Delroy, Lindo did not deserve that. They didn't deserve that. And it's not because he has Tourette's, and it's not in not acknowledging that he has Tourette's. It's in acknowledging that the weight of the word itself is heavy. And in those spaces, you take away, you saw the joy completely wiped out of their face. Stop always assuming that we are supposed to be so understanding all of the time. My goodness, it's like, how much do y'all really want for us to understand? How much? Why are we always the people who literally have to understand something, and then we're crazy if we feel some kind of way? No, I did not like seeing all of the joy in their eyes literally be wiped away because they have to be reminded of a word. Not to blame, even if you do blame. I am just saying that it is ingrained, clearly, and intentionally or unintentionally. I will keep saying this. Intentionally or unintentionally, it's ingrained. And agree or disagree, but intentionally or unintentionally, stop disregarding how things make Black people feel just because you can't understand the weight of it.
Racism doesn't belong anywhere, especially not at global events meant to celebrate art and culture. Accountability matters, public condemnation matters, and respect for Black artists matters. Let me know what you think in the comments. Should the BAFTAs issue a formal apology? Should there be a consequences? Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.